I was kind of like, I had been making these like Filipino-inspired pastries for friends and family and neighbors for quite some time now.
Okay.
And I didn't feel comfortable sharing it with anyone but the people that I knew.
Because it wouldn't be accepted?
Yeah. And I just didn't feel like I was also so insecure about my work, you know. Okay. I suffer from imposter syndrome, as a lot of people do.
Yeah, we're all there.
But it wasn't until the Tribune did an interview with Francis Almeida of Side Practice
Love you,
Coffee.
Francis.
Francis, please be my dad. I love you so much. No, but like, like literally that article came out, and I had 10 people texting me that article nonstop, and I was like, okay, what is it?
It's meant to be.
Yeah. So I read it, and I was like, Side Practice Coffee, a coffee shop that highlights people's like ability to just do whatever the fuck they want. Fuck yeah, you know. And it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of build up for me to be like, okay, I have to like, you know, I just have to keep working on my products until I feel good about it. Until I did a pop up, and
up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
During October, which was Filipino American History Month.
Oh, okay.
And I reached out to him.
Oh, so wait, the most recent one wasn't your first time. You've been there before.
I've been there for a while.
I'm sorry,
now.
I missed it. Thank you for bringing some over.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of a hike for me. But like I try to, because I love their ube matcha and everything that they offer. But I sadly haven't had your pastries.
So that was October of last year. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll make like a dozen of each pastries, like the Turon Danish that I've been making, ube croissant, like truly Filipino-inspired pastries. And I was like, okay, make a dozen. I'll probably I called off work. I was like, I'll probably be here all day. And then I did it, and then it sold out in less than an hour. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
The first time, I feel like we've been following each other for a while, but you came back on the radar when you recently came to Side Practice, so congrats on that.
Thank you.
And before we started recording, I honestly thought you have shifted to ceramics, but to my surprise, you have kind of come full circle back to the world of pastries.
Yeah.
And I'm also, this started as a career podcast, but this is more these days a fulfillment podcast. And we started to get into different ways to cultivate that sense of fulfillment and fairness and equality. But the other thing that I was curious about is your upbringing, and the things and lessons you took away from living in two very different places. And how that has shaped your perspective on life and your art. So I guess chronologically, can you take us back to some of your earliest memories in the Philippines?
Yeah, so I grew up in the southern islands of the Philippines called Mindanao. Spent my childhood there. I was a Catholic schoolboy.
Okay.
But it's one of those parts of the country that, you know, people don't really know about, because it's with the Philippines being a predominantly Catholic country, it's that region that is, I mean, a lot of the areas are predominantly Muslim. So it was a pretty diverse region that I was from. So I think being introduced to that and having a lot of like Muslim friends, it kind of shaped me, honestly, like being introduced to all these like interesting ways of cooking that I wouldn't have been introduced to if I was on other parts of the Philippines. But yeah, it's been really interesting. It's like you won't see Muslim students in a Catholic school aside from that region. I feel like it's so wild. But
did you ever question your faith then?
No.
Okay.
Because when you go to a Catholic school, you're kind of just fed one like propaganda.
Yeah.
I like to say I'm a non-practicing Catholic nowadays.
Okay, so you eventually came to that point.
Yeah.
Like questioning.
Yeah, but during that time, it never occurred to me. It wasn't until I moved to the U.S. that I was like, wow, that was a very interesting way of living with people that are different. But I never even thought about that difference,
Okay.
honestly. So
Okay.
that was good.
That's probably one that was the seed that was planted to eventually question it.
Yeah, because I mean, I moved to the U.S. when I was a young kid,
Yeah.
early teenagers, my early teens, I should say, but it wasn't.
Can you paint us like the sights and the sounds and the smells of that area?
It's so colorful.
Ooh.
It's so vibrant. It's, you know,
Vibrant, like buildings or murals or the people.
It's the culture.
Culture.
I mean, it's just like, honestly, like, again, being introduced to all these tribes that also exist there, and seeing like different patterns of their clothing, their tattoos, their music. It's so vibrant. And I honestly longed for that after I moved here, because it's like, you know, you're from this really colorful, vibrant, tropical island of the Philippines, and then you suddenly move to Midwest America. You're just like, dang. You take it for granted,
take
you
me
know?
back.
Yeah, but, you know, there's...
So during your upbringing, did you bounce back and forth a little bit? Or you were...
No, I mean, honestly, like, I went here to visit my mom.
Okay.
And then I kind of just fell in love with Chicago, honestly. I love the diversity. I love I could feel the sense of opportunity in here. And it's not one of those like sob immigrant stories. I just felt like, you know, I should just try this. It'll be good. I'm also someone who likes to plan things a lot. So, you know, I was a fucking teenager. Sorry, is it okay to curse? Yeah. You know, I was a teenager being like, this will be good for my career. You know, it's one of those things. But
And when you say career, like how old were you when you said that?
13, 14.
Jesus.
I know.
Good for you.
Maniac. But yeah.
What brought your mom was here? So what brought your mom here?
It's like,
Was it someone
she's
she
one
knew?
of more
or
those classic like Filipino immigrant stories. There's so many
nurses or
no, but she was more into the realm of caregiving, and
okay.
She was here for decades.
Okay.
And then kind of just I was taken care of by my grandparents in the Philippines, and then kind of...
If you're willing to share, was it because it was too difficult to do both, like work and take care of you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think
it's a big shout out to immigrant moms and dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the sacrifice, right?
Insane. I can't imagine like how lonely she must have felt, you know, because my sisters and I were all in the Philippines, and she was here.
So did she come based on an opportunity or based on someone was there a connection that she knew?
It's more for the opportunity and the ability to be able to support the family. She's a strong woman.
So have you asked her like if caregiving was something that she longed to do, which it could be, or was there something else that she would have wanted to do had there been another opportunity?
It's not a conversation I have a lot with my mom.
Is that something that you desire to have?
At some point, yeah.
I know I do.
There's something with, I think, like, probably Asian families that don't really have conversations like that, honestly. Like, I haven't dared to question it, because sometimes I'm scared that I'm going to bring up a can of worms for her, that maybe, like, what life could have been like for her, especially now that she's coming to an age where she's, you know, close to retiring, and be like, oh... I don't want her to feel like any regrets for what she's done, but nowadays I find myself just reminding her, like, thank you for supporting us.
That's a good way to start that conversation.
Now I'm just, you know, it's just like this, everything I have now, everything that I've worked up to is for you to be able to see like the outcome of your work, and she's my inspiration.
Yeah. Like
I'm a mama's boy, so.
Not letting it go to waste, essentially.
Yeah.
But I think you'd be surprised what kind of discussion or conversation might come from that if you allow the space.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when you start like that, I think you're creating a safe space for vulnerability to happen.
Yeah. Vulnerability, like vulnerable conversations. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I got so uncomfortable with conversations like that.
Yeah.
Within my family, I've just never been like that person, you know.
Which to me is a little surprising. Like my fiance Justine is Filipina, and I love and I was surprised by how tight knit they were, especially during the pandemic. They would hop on weekly, if more than once a week, Zoom calls just to hang out on with each other over Zoom. And that might not be the case with every Filipino family, but to me, it's kind of the average of what I hear. But that being said, it's like, do you have more of a family vibe with your chosen family then?
Well, yeah, I think it's both.
Or a different capacity.
My family definitely, like, I mean, my sisters and I and my mom, like, we definitely do video calls every day.
Oh, there you go.
But we
Okay.
just don't
Just
have
different.
those conversations that's like, you know, like what I would consider quote unquote cheesy conversations, because I just clam up because the idea of having to open up to my family, like,
Yeah.
it's hard for me, and it's not on them, it's on me.
Do you have any type of deep conversations? Because I feel like mine with my parents are usually superficial.
I'm starting there. I'm getting there with my sisters. I think it's now that I kind of like, we live separately.
Yeah.
I'm now like kind of like,
I
dang,
miss you.
like, you know,
Yeah.
my sister Kathleen, like we're closer than ever now that we don't live together.
Same city or different city?
Same city.
Same
She's
city.
a student at UIC.
Older,
so
younger? Oh, okay.
Older. I have 2 older sisters.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And through these conversations, have you maybe found out that they kind of desire that similar thing?
Yeah, they do, and I think the 3 of them, my sisters and my mom,
Yeah.
have started to like insinuate that type of conversation. I'm the hardest shell to break in the family. They're all like,
And
asking
here you
me
are.
yeah. They're gonna listen to this podcast and be like, we're just finding out
This is
more
gonna-
about our
This
brother.
is going to open this conversation.
Yeah, it is, because, you know, honestly, like everything that I mean, my career, my accomplishments, it's due to them. It's, I mean, they're probably gonna listen to this and be like, he never said this to
Why
us.
didn't you tell us this?
Yeah. No, it's because like I clam up, but like, you know, it is because of them. Like, they've been so supportive. I've heard so many stories of, you know, Asian parents deciding what the careers will be for their children. I am so fortunate to like not go through that, you know. My mom is extremely supportive of what I do, which is unheard of for a Filipino mom to, you know, because my 2 older sisters are in the medical industry, and then I'm, you know, a pastry chef, and, you know, my mom has never held that against me. My sisters, they've often asked me, like, when are you going to open the bakery? How's your bakery doing? Like, you know, it's just like, so I don't tell them enough, but I am so thankful for them, for their support.
How supportive or impactful were your grandparents in shaping your perspective?
They've definitely, like, it was rather interesting.
Yeah.
I think my grandparents were very energetic and moved around to places a lot. They like to travel. My grandma, she's in her 90s. She still likes to travel a lot. Like, you know, I think they lived life. And I feel like that, I wish that kind of rubbed off on me more, because like they were kind of like, maybe it's just like I have such an American way of like looking at life now. It's just like work. But to them, it's more of like live life.
Life was a lot slower.
Yeah.
It's hard. You take these things, like you take older generations as a kid for granted, for sure.
Yeah.
And growing up, I didn't speak Chinese. I still don't, but I didn't have the ability to speak with my grandparents. And so when I met Justine's grandparents, and they spoke English, and I'm like, I can talk to someone of that generation, like in a kind of family type environment. It opens up all the curiosity of like, well, what was life for you, like back in the day, and all the questions. But that being said, they're fortunately still around. And before we got engaged, her grandmother was like, Justine, get married next year. I'm still alive.
I am in this big family group chat with all my cousins, and then my grandma is just like kind of doing that same thing. It's so funny. But yeah, it's just, I love her.
So how would you spend your free time back in the Philippines growing up?
I mean, I was a kid.
What were you
Lots of free
curious
time.
about? What were you exploring?
I was really into nature.
Nature, okay.
Nature was the one thing that I had.
Do you feel like you try to implement some aspect of nature in your work today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you know, nature is the one thing that connects me now to
Yeah.
my previous life in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I do gardening.
Mm.
That's one thing. But like, you know, being a child and going to the beach, going to the mountains,
Yeah.
it's I think I look back and I'm just like, I really took that for granted, you know, having that ability to just go out and just immerse yourself in nature without any technology was an amazing feeling.
Have you gone back?
I went last year
Oh no.
for my sister's
Nice.
wedding.
Oh, okay.
But it was just so jam packed, and it was just such a short trip, and then it wasn't long enough because I was like, I have to cut my trip short because I'm gonna start a new job, and that was when I started at Big Jones immediately
so it's back
after
to
I
that
got back.
hustle culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And when I mean nature in your work, I could also, in not really the literal sense, in the metaphorical sense, natural. So do you find, because I feel like I got that sense from looking at your pastries, like a more simplistic, natural feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've always been very organic
Yeah.
with my work. I don't pressure myself into having it look a certain way. I used to, when I thought that was the way to do it. But nowadays, I find myself just being like, you know, you get what you get. You know, you don't force things. Just let it, you know,
Like embrace the imperfections.
Yeah.
Or?
And that started, you know, I started that with ceramics, and then after I did the transition back to pastry, I was like, yeah, I think it's important to not beat myself up because I forgot to, you know, fold one, like laminate a dough or something. It's just stuff like that, you know.
So at what point, you know, you started brainstorming or thinking about a career at an early age? Did that happen before or after you moved to the States?
I think I think it was before.
Before?
I mean, when I was in the Philippines, Filipino kitchens don't have ovens.
Oh.
Because we're just, you know, it's a very like wood fire type of thing.
Oh, cool.
But we had a stovetop and everything, but like, you know, we didn't have an oven. But my sister Kathleen and I, when we were kids, we'd play on clay pots.
Oh,
and,
wow.
You know, like cook with that. And then it wasn't until like I actually got interested in baking out of nowhere. I always knew when I was a kid that I was going to do something creative. Baking just happened to be that. It's probably because from my mom, like she was an avid baker when she was still in the Philippines, and she was doing all these wedding cakes in the 80s, like those thick buttercream borders and like stairs and figurines. But yeah, I think I got that from her.
Oh, wow.
And then when I expressed that, they were supportive and bought me an oven. And
and this is back there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was like the beginning of what I knew would be very prominent in my life. So I didn't stop working after.
Did you make anything prior to getting that oven?
I mean,
because I feel like was that an investment? They're like, oh, I see something in Justin, I'm gonna get him an oven.
I think they were just supportive of what I wanted to do. I think because I was a lonely child, you know. I mean, I was during my last few years in the Philippines. It was just me, my nanny, and kind of just like, you know,
let Justin tinker.
Yeah. Let Justin do whatever he wants, you know. Well, my two sisters were in med school. I was just like little child, free child, and just I'd find like leaves that I would like put in fire, or just I love to pretend how to cook.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that's been.
And what part of baking and pastries did you gravitate to more rather than cooking?
When I was in the Philippines, or just in general?
I guess in general.
I've had my phases. I think when I started off, I started off with cakes and like all the basic baked goods. But I think as time progressed, I've gotten more interested into more specific items where I could weave in certain aspects of my life, where that's where side practice comes in. Because I was like, actually, I'm interested in doing laminated pastries, but I'm interested. That's the perfect canvas for me to be able to do Filipino flavors in terms of like what I feel comfortable in.
Can you share what laminated allows you to do as far as pastries?
I mean, I love breakfast pastries.
Okay.
It's just like, I mean,
like
I'm
danishes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been so into danishes, which I think is so funny because when I used to work for Lost Larson, I was never interested in lamination. That was like, of all like the different like bread, cakes and tarts, I was doing cakes and tarts at Lost Larson.
Okay.
But viennoiserie or lamination was the one thing I was like, fuck that.
Wait, say that one more time.
Viennoiserie.
Oh.
That's like the more French fancy
okay.
term
Okay.
for laminated pastries like croissants and yeah, God, that was so soigné.
Yeah.
But no, I like, it's so funny because I was truly never interested in it until, because I would see how they would take their time with folding the dough in, and it's one of the hardest pastry techniques you can learn.
Okay.
So I was never interested because I was like, I'll stick to my cakes and tarts here, So I never expressed interest, and then I left Lost Larson, and then COVID happened.
Oh.
So that's when everyone was doing sourdough at home. I was doing lamination.
Okay.
Because I was like, I have all this free time now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
But wait, did you go to school for a little bit?
No.
No school for this? Not for for pastry?
Not for pastry. I did go, so I went to Sen High School in Edgewater, and then CPS is a program that allows students that don't have like specific art programs to go to their downtown location and go to school there. So every day from Monday to Friday, I would go to Gallery 37, close to Millennium Park.
Oh.
And they offered culinary arts classes there. So that's when I really that was my first like experience with like a real industrial kitchen.
Is it strictly high school?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It was awesome because like they only allowed it for juniors and seniors, and I was like, I really want this. So they were like, okay, fine, we'll let the sophomore come in.
And how did you know about that program?
I learned it through After School Matters.
Wow.
Because I'm a true CPS kid, like I did the because when I was in high school, I was like, okay, what's something that I can do in terms of like culinary right now? I can't work in kitchens because they won't let me because I'm only 15.
Wow.
So I did After School Matters, which did culinary arts, and I had the time of my life. And my mentor was like, hey, there's this like class that we offer, you should do it. And that's how I really got into it. And they believed in me so much that they were just like, you don't even have to go through the curriculum, just do whatever you want. And that allowed me to be able to really hone in on my technique or skills and practice.
Small side tangent, is After School Matters at every CPS program, like school?
I think it's accessible to every CPS student.
Yeah,
I believe.
But it's a separate. I know it's separate, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was different, but they basically work hand in hand.
Because I know we were trying to do some EMT thing with After School Matters. That's very cool. There's a CPFTA for juniors and seniors, people that are interested in the fire and police service. They get to dabble as juniors and seniors and maybe even get their EMT at such an early age.
It's an awesome program to be in. I tell people all the time, just put yourself through ASM.
Yeah. Okay, so first industrial kitchen, were you? It doesn't seem like you were overwhelmed. It seemed like you were embracing.
Because it wasn't like it wasn't like a full on restaurant kitchen.
Okay.
It was a bunch of high school students doing whatever the fuck they want. But it was actually like they were teaching us how to cook. There was a time where we like got to deal with a whole pig.
Oh.
So it's like it was so fun, and I miss that kitchen so much.
Would you, if you had more time, go back in a mentoring capacity?
Yeah,
or?
I mean they don't do it anymore, unfortunately. Like they don't do it within the kitchen. I don't know what they do now.
Oh, wow.
But they stopped doing it. Like I was so dismayed by that.
But here's the thing. I mean, when you do, if we could talk about if this is, having a brick and mortar is a goal, and honestly, I'm sure Francis will let you pop up with a little, let's make some pastries together. That sounds like it's a goal of yours. Oh,
absolutely. I think what's good now that I came from that program is a lot of teachers from high school and teachers that I knew in that program do refer a lot of students to me that are interested in pursuing a culinary career. Nowadays I have a lot of students that I like do Zoom calls with, or I'm just like, hey, or they're like, hey, I don't know what to do. Should I go to culinary school? Should I do this? Should I do that? Yeah. And I tell them, this is what worked for me. This is what you could do, but I can't like tell you a specific direction.
Do you share what feelings to be mindful of to let you know you're in the zone or like you're on the right path?
Yeah, I think making them feel supported is is the utmost importance for me, because that was given to me, and I credit that to like where I am now.
And if someone wasn't that fortunate, the last guest, Courtney McDermott, talked about like it's like turning the dial on a radio and you're shifting your perspective on what's going on inside yourself. And so if you can kind of remember like some of the feelings, like even back in the Philippines, that felt some type of way when you're doing some type of thing. And that's what I'm trying to think of more so, like when you're introducing or meeting people, instead of asking, what do you do? It's like, I think it's just a mandatory like question in the beginning, but like when you're trying to brainstorm a career, it's more so like, who do you want to be? Like what type of feelings do you want to feel, and allow the role to fill those feelings instead of the opposite, instead of seeking for a role to fulfill some type of feeling.
Yeah, I think I mean, I was fortunate enough to know what I was going to do at a young age. I tell people all the time, like, that's a very fortunate thing to do. That doesn't mean that you have to go through that. You know, I made a decision when I was a kid that everything that I was going to do from that point on was to work on my goals, to become a pastry chef. And when I look back at it, I would tell younger Justin that you don't need to do all that. To prioritize being a little kid. You know, I'm knee deep into my career now, and I honestly look back and I'm like, I wish I could have gone to more parties with my friends when I was in high school. I wish I went through a traditional college experience, but I didn't. And that's not to say that I regret my decisions. I just wish that it didn't have to be my priority at that time.
Sure.
But because I'm also a really impatient person.
Yeah.
That I was so like focused on like doing that, you know. And I'm really lucky to have my group of best friends that have been so understanding with that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like my best friends, they have truly understood, even when we were teenagers, that like Justin has this thing going on. Let's support him, even though he can't go to the party with us. That's fine, because he has work tomorrow. He goes to, you know, I was in high school very career oriented. You know, Monday to Friday school, Saturday, Sundays working a shift at Lost Larson. My earnings at Lost Larson, I was taking myself to different restaurants, buying their entire dessert menu to learn about them.
Okay.
I was focused on that, and I tell students all the time, like, you can do this every once in a while, but you don't need to do it. Like, you know, enjoy your free time.
Would you be just as good as you are now had you not given up those sacrifices?
Oh.
You know,
I don't think so, honestly.
I guess, right.
I mean,
like what I'm trying to get at is like the grass always seems greener.
Yeah.
On the other side, and it, from someone who went to college, it's not all the, you know. It was a very expensive way to meet people, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not currently using my biology degree.
Yeah.
So you're not. I don't think you're missing out on much. And for you to say that you still have a good circle of people around you, I'm guessing from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucky. Like you're
insane.
You still have it.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of friends. Like,
It's quality versus quantity thing.
Literally, I know I have my best friends. They know who they are. They have truly been so understanding that I have a goal that I'm working towards. But it's insane. I tell them all the time, like, I buy them a lot of presents. I'm like, thank you for being there. Thank you for sticking with me,
yeah,
despite me not being able to hang out because I have to make cakes. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're so.
Which leads me to like, you know, your love languages of like gift giving, but then how do you what's the best way to receive love in your perspective?
I mean, quality time.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends over. I do a lot of dinner parties. Every year, I host Friendsgiving for like the past 5 or 6 years now, and it's like an invitation of all the people that have been there since the beginning and people that have been there for me during the year, to be able to thank them. Like cooking for people, I don't cook for myself at home, but I cook for people that come over. And that's truly been my way of, telling them I appreciate them. Because again, I'm not the type of person to be like, you're such a lovely friend, I love you so much, thank you. Like, it gives me the ick. And that's just me. But they know that. My best friends know that, and again, they're just amazing.
I'm sure things can get lost in translation, but I think, like, when it's not explicitly said, but I agree. There's nothing quite like true quality time.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I don't like texting. I'm better in person. But yeah, except for my best friends, like the Annika and Tris that live in Denver. Unfortunately,
nice.
FaceTime is our only option. But yeah.
Take us back to your time at Lost Larson and honing your skills, meeting people, maybe learning how to run a business. Any of those things come to mind?
Yeah, so I mean, I liked my time at Lost Larson for the most part. It was truly like my first introduction to a bakery, because I had gone from working at a pretty well-known big restaurant group restaurant to like this local bakery, which I really appreciated. And it was lovely. I started from the bottom, like the most easy pastries, and then leaving there knowing like how to make the cakes and tarts. Like I had not done any professional experience at all, and I credit them for teaching me the ways of
so you
how
don't
a bakery runs.
necessarily need school for this.
No, I tell people all the time, like, don't go in debt, just go to work. They'll teach you.
Would these be the same schools as like Kendall?
Yeah.
So just culinary school.
Yeah.
Oh wow! And then there's like a pastry subsection of culinary school.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about going to culinary school, but the only reason why I didn't end up going is because I felt like it wasn't necessary for me.
Okay.
And it's not to say that that's not necessary for other people, but like for me, it didn't feel right.
I hear a lot of people don't graduate.
Yeah.
Like you get what you need to get, and then just kind of go do your own thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. But yeah, my time at Lost Larson, I worked there for almost a year.
Okay.
In high school.
Okay.
And I had fun, but honestly, I was getting bored towards the end. I was making the same pastries over and over again without really having the control to do what I want. I had so many ideas of what I wanted to do, but I didn't feel. I would
think from a consumer standpoint, to me, Lost Larson seems like a boutique pastry shop.
Yeah.
And then to me, a boutique pastry shop is more open to experimenting, but
yeah, but also like my time there, I felt so naive that all these ideas I didn't feel like was good enough. I was like, I'm going to keep it to myself. And I didn't feel like I had the position to be able to be like, this is what I want to do. I see. Because it wasn't, I didn't feel comfortable being able to like.
Yeah. Just knowing your place in a way, I guess.
Yeah. And
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Towards the end, I was getting so kind of just upset. I was like, damn, like this is this is it. And I kind of.
You feel like you're being capped.
Yeah. I was like, bakery was my creative outlet. And then that became my career. And I was
just felt like a job then.
Yeah. So that's when I started pottery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Maniac over here. But
did you take, because sometimes there's like those one-off classes or weekend classes, and I know you bought a wheel eventually, but
yeah.
How did you transition?
Well, the thing was, back in my high school culinary arts classes, above that was a ceramics class. And I would I would peek into the classes a lot. I'd be like, we made a lot of cupcakes today. Stop by the kitchen. But then every time I would pass by the ceramics, I'm like, that's so cool.
That looks so cool.
Yeah. So I kind of just like, when I felt like I needed another creative outlet, my therapist was like, you like, just do pottery. You've been saying that you wanted to do it. What's stopping you? And I was like, I guess nothing. So I kind of like enrolled in a pottery studio in Lincoln Square, and that's when
Okay.
I taught myself how to do pottery.
Okay.
And then, well, before that, I bought like some cheap $100 like wheel from Amazon and like just learn the basics through YouTube. That's what I did with pastries. I basically did the same thing I did with pastries, which was just
Yeah.
taught myself how to do it.
YouTube University.
Yeah, amazing.
Did it help?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went to like again the pottery studio. Felt more official. I could finally like, I could finally have a full on process with pottery in a way that I couldn't do at home.
Amazing.
I could fire my pottery. I could like glaze it.
Wait, so
it was
where
lovely.
would you take it to? Like, do you have a kiln at home too, or?
No,
Oh, okay,
that's why
okay.
I was just
You'd have to take it
literally
somewhere.
like, no, I literally was just making unfired pottery
Oh.
at home.
Okay.
And because I was so naive, I was like, oh, I can just bake this in my oven. Like my 350 oven. I was like,
And
it's fine.
For those that don't know, it's not hot enough.
Oh God, it has to be like cone 6 or like it has to be like over 2,000 degrees and like the
Oh,
hottest.
interesting.
I was like, yeah, I'll just put this in my 350 oven. Like it'll be fine. So I was so naive, but yeah, it was really fun, and I felt because I was so dismayed by like
Pastry.
my pastry
Yeah.
that I was like, you know what? I'm tired of it. I don't want it. Let me do a different career. And I was like, maybe this is a good chance for me to be able to be a different or be in a more traditional like setting or be a college student.
Like going back to school.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is so funny because I ended up in art school.
Wow.
It's definitely not like a traditional, like college setting. I mean, it was a very spur of the moment thing.
Okay.
Where I was like, I'm going to go to the Art Institute. Why not? And in like less than a month, I made a bunch of sculptures.
Yeah.
Had my former coworker, Alex, take photos because he was a bread baker at Lost Larson, and he took photos of my work, which was good enough to get a decent scholarship and get like be admitted to the Art Institute. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then went to art school, and I was like, wow, I don't really fit here. I was like, this is a lot of really cool international students that was just like have really worked their lives trying to get to the school, and I literally just did this in under a month. Like, I shouldn't. It was insane. I mean, I loved my time at the Art Institute. I love the ceramic studios, but it was just like it was clear that it was my way to it was a distraction, a way for me to deviate from pastry.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a common thing for pastry chefs. You'll find that you'll
to dabble in other things or leave and come
yeah,
back, or?
Yeah, that's a very common thing. You'll
Okay.
hear a lot of pastry chefs talk about that and being like, yeah, I mean, I just got burnt out. I just got tired, so I left. But when you're passionate about something, you come back to it. So
you went to art school. You saw the people. How deep did you get into ceramics before you realized that I don't think this is it?
Oh, I really went deep into it. I was like, I'm going to do a career with this. I'm going to open like a coffee shop that does ceramics too. And I was like, wait, that's such a health hazard because like it can't work out like that. But I truly thought about it, like thought about leaving pastry and doing a career somewhere else, like art therapy.
Yeah.
That's something I was deeply
Oh.
interested in, being an art teacher, which my best friends think like is so funny because they're like, you're terrible with kids. Like, what the fuck are you talking about being an art teacher?
Would you need a degree for that? Probably from art school. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I seriously was thinking about it, and then again, I was just like, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I've fulfilled like young Justin's aspirations.
That's so interesting. So it didn't. Those feelings didn't come from making a certain thing. It just the whole thing together. It's just like I don't think this is it.
No, I mean, I definitely I still use a lot of like my techniques. I still do pottery.
Okay.
I love pottery.
Just not in a career sense. It's a hobby sense.
Yeah. So that's the way I see it now. Like, okay, pottery is like my hobby.
Yeah. When you think about in the career sense, I think I heard you mention, or I read that you mentioned 2 prominent potters that make ceramics for Michelin star restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
David Kim has been on as well, but is that kind of the career trajectory you were striving for?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Because I'm I was trained as a production baker. I was like, I'm gonna be a production potter and make plates and stuff, and be organic with my process. But it was clear that it wasn't gonna work out. But that didn't mean that my time at the Art Institute was not worth it, because now I'm working on a project where I do a pop-up dinner with ceramics that I made. So it's like,
yeah, you're still incorporating aspects of it.
It's still very prominent in my life. You'll see my apartment. My apartment's covered in clay because I do pottery in my dining room. There would be nights where I just I get home from a shift at Big Jones and I'm just like, yeah, I feel like doing pottery, and doing pottery
Good
2
for
a.m. Yeah, it's taking a toll on my wrists, but it's worth it.
Can you walk us through? Because I've never tried it. I've seen videos of people doing it on the wheel. It seems like every video I see, they're in a state of flow.
Yeah, it's a very tactile experience, and I love anything that's tactile. I love being able to have a one-on-one connection with something and be able to really put everything into it, put a lot of intention, put a lot of effort into making something with whatever I intend it to be.
Yeah. I feel like you'd be a good surgeon.
No. I have such shaky hands, and it's probably because I drink too much coffee, but my sisters have said that, and I was like, is this you pressuring me into going to med school? And they were like, no, we still want you to be a pastry chef, we're just saying. But no, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't be, and I faint at the sight of blood anyways. Even cutting meat, I just don't like that. But no, I think
are you listening to music, or is it the act of being on the wheel that puts you in that zone?
To me, the perfect day to me is sunny day, sun shining on me, doing pottery with Lord in the background. That's perfect for me. It's not me baking, it's just me being in the zone, being able to make something that's so tangible that might even outlive me. It's
Absolutely.
Crazy. But yeah, it's again one of those things where it's I think a lot about the future, and I'm just it's a little bit of delusional thoughts, but also kind of just being optimistic about the future, where I'm just yeah, I want to do my own pottery for my bakery one day. So a lot of my pottery at home is I'm okay, I'm gonna start doing production pottery for my bakery, because I'm gonna have to make a lot of mugs, and it's just you'll see that a lot at home.
Okay.
But yeah, again, it's one of those delusional, optimistic ways that I think.
That's usually where it starts.
Yeah.
Until it actually happens.
Yeah. It's gonna happen.
So, I guess how long did you actually stay in art school before? Did you leave art school?
I'm on break right now.
Wait, so you're still in it?
Well, I didn't technically.
You just took a leave.
Yeah.
You just took a leave of absence.
I actually yeah. So.
Do your thing.
Because honestly, even though I didn't feel like I fit in, I loved being an art student. To be able to go downtown, go through the museum, and then go in the confines of the Art Institute and take classes there was surreal to me. As an art nerd, that was everything to me.
Can you speak more about not fitting in? Is it a cultural thing, generational thing?
I think it was it's again like I said, it's all these students that have worked for a long time for their craft.
And you feel like you didn't earn it?
No, because I was because I had only started
art in a different capacity.
Well, because I only had started pottery.
Yeah.
That year, where I was I feel bad. I feel like I'm such a nuisance to these students.
Oh.
But
and oftentimes we're in our own way, though, right? That's usually our own voice. Yeah. But I feel like you've been honing your eye for art.
Yeah, I think in the sense of fulfillment, it didn't work out for me, but in the sense of being able to just feel good.
Okay.
That art school fulfilled that, and I may come back. I may not. We'll see.
If you do come back, what if it doesn't change? What if that feeling? And by now, you put so many hours into.
I did.
The craft in general, whether it's pastry or pottery, you've been putting.
Well, it's funny because even though I used art school as a deviation from leaving pastry, I went into art school being I'm gonna take classes that will help me build my bakery, ceramic classes, interior design, furniture making. Like that was my mindset. So pastry truly never left me. You know,
Okay.
it's one of those things that's just like, I feel like I'm tied up by the pastry god and it just keeps dragging me back. Just like, come
use
here.
me as your vessel.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, you know, again, I don't regret my time at art school,
Sure.
but nowadays I'm more of a go with the flow type of person. So whatever happens. Yeah.
So, when your focus came back to pastries, was it back to Lost Larson or something else?
No, I didn't want to go back because I felt like it was sufficient. My time there was sufficient.
Sure.
I worked at a restaurant that I probably can't say, but primarily it catered to influencers.
Okay.
Like that whole brunch scene.
Okay.
Which, I mean, good for them, not for me.
Yeah.
And then I kind of knew Paul Fairbach just through the community, and then
Who?
Paul Fairbach, he owns Big Jones.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And then he kind of like, I noticed on Culinary Agents that he was on the hunt for a pastry chef position.
Oh.
And we kind of just like, I was like, maybe I could try this. You know, this has been a position that I've wanted to do for like all my life.
Yeah.
I'll try it. And then there was a lot of talk, like a lot of like, what if, like, you know, it was very dangerous for him because he, you know, as a restaurant owner coming out of COVID,
Yeah.
you know, there's
Any
a lot
type
of
of risk, yeah.
skepticism. There's a lot of risk
Right.
that comes with that, especially for a restaurant that's never had a pastry chef before. But I think that's where the beauty of it comes from, is we both learned a lot. I've never been a pastry chef, like a full-on person who runs the program. He's never had a pastry chef for his own restaurant, so I think like it was a lot of learning curve. But
What do you think, like, mutually? I felt like he has a little bit more to lose, right? So like, what do you think he saw in you that made it?
he saw the passion. I think like he saw the talent.
Yeah.
He's definitely expressed that, and you know, like he knew that I was gonna make mistakes, but he was, you know, he's been very understanding.
Yeah.
And it's been like a very long year for me. Like I just reached my 1 year at
Wow,
Big
congrats.
Jones. I know, thank you. And then everyone, like literally all the servers and cooks were like, it's only been a year. I feel like you've been here for 5 years, and it's like, it's been a really, you know, long and tiring year. My former coworker, like we had dinner, and then I had been working at Big Jones for a long time, and then like she saw me, she was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck did I do to you?
You look
And I
older.
was like,
like,
yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just tired. But you know, I mean, I like, pastry chefs have to bow down to the concept of a restaurant.
Oh.
It's not just, personally, I don't feel comfortable saying it's my dessert.
Okay.
Like it's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do R&D, I do a lot of recipe testing. I get to dictate like what's gonna come on the menu, but I have to go through it in the filter of what the like concept is for Big Jones, which is
Yeah.
like a southern heirloom
Yeah.
restaurant that also highlighted
So
seasonal.
through the lens of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a very
like
interesting thing for
beignets
me.
or.
Yeah, it's I mean, a lot of beignets, a lot of you know, those I mean, I make beignets nowadays, but a lot of biscuits, a lot of crackers. But I think that was the thing that I struggled with the most when I started. I was just like, I felt like I could just do whatever I want, and it was evident that no, that's not how it works, you know.
But when you have a problem, like I did with the studio today, I think it forces you to be creative. Otherwise, you're stuck in a
Yeah.
routine.
I still like, I mean, I was so in love with like the idea of like that I'm an actual pastry chef that I like worked nonstop for it, you know.
Yeah.
I will go to Big Jones, work, do my prep list, and then come home and do recipe tests. So I was like
Wow.
working on this 24/7, even though I was at home not getting paid for like work that I might do at Big Jones.
Yeah.
It was a sacrifice. Would I do it again? No. I have since put up boundaries between life and work now, which is a very new concept to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I think at the time you acknowledged the leap of faith, is it Paul that Paul took on you, and I agree. I would personally would rather fuck up at home rather than in the restaurant, even if I'm not paid for it.
Yeah. It was definitely like also like just when I'm at home, I'm a very comfortable person.
Yeah.
Like I'm a very free, independent person that I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what it was. And then I do the recipe again in the kitchen, and be like, it didn't work out, but that's because like my setup at home is totally different from Big Jones,
Okay.
so it didn't really work out anyways. So, but yeah.
So, what's over the year? What's it been like creating your own program? Even though it's through the lens of Big Jones, but like there's a lot that goes into it, as far as maybe the cost of things, the flow of things, like how many things can you have on the menu at the same time?
Yeah.
And then we pre-recording talked about the relationship between chef and consumer, right?
Mhm.
So what has that been like?
It's been very interesting. I mean, being able to work in a small business
Yeah.
has been very important for my growth, because I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of restaurants have had to reconceptualize or reevaluate how they do business after COVID.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like being introduced to small business problems that I've never thought of before, because it just didn't occur to me. But running a program is not easy, especially if you're just doing it by yourself. Like
Yeah.
I don't get help at all. It's just me doing everything.
Really?
Yeah.
What if some of the people that you've been having mentoring, like Zoom calls, like what if they wanted to shadow or stage?
They do.
Oh, okay.
I've had a couple.
But it's
which
hard
is-
when it's like such a short term.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But I mean, because I do that micro bakery thing at home, I just have them over and I just show them whatever they want to learn. But again, I tell these students all the time, like everyone has a different like story or
Yeah.
different like way on how to run this career. You don't have to like go to culinary school, maybe get an internship, and then it's like everyone has a different story.
Sure.
So I tell them that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah. But my running a program again at Big Jones hasn't been easy, but it's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of time on the computer.
Yeah.
It's
It's not as romantic as you probably thought.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a team. I am the team. Being able to like be.
If you had a team, how easy would you feel it would be to let go of some of the duties? Some people have a problem with micromanaging.
I think I mean, I've always been a very chill person. I believe that if someone, like I've had experiences where someone works under me, and I've always been like very understanding.
Yeah.
Like usually, I mean, nowadays I tell people, because the desserts that I make at Big Jones when I'm there is different from the desserts that are made by a different person when I'm not at Big Jones.
Okay.
But I tell them all the time, just get the components right, but plating is up to you, because I've had you pick your battles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And I constantly have to remind myself that it's not a win all the time, but
Sure.
it's whatever.
You briefly mentioned micro pastry shop.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah, I was so when I was a few months in at Big Jones, I was struggling with the idea that the dessert menu that was made by me didn't feel like me.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, I had been making these like Filipino inspired pastries for friends and family and neighbors for quite some time now.
Okay.
And I didn't feel comfortable sharing it with anyone but the people that I knew.
Because it wouldn't be accepted?
Yeah. And I just didn't feel like I was also so insecure about my work,
Okay.
I suffer from imposter syndrome, as a lot of people do.
Yeah, we're all there.
But it wasn't until the Tribune did an interview with Francis Almeida of Side Practice
Love you,
Coffee.
Francis.
Francis, please be my dad. I love you so much. No, but literally that article came out, and I had 10 people texting me that article nonstop, and I was like, okay, what is it?
It's meant to be.
Yeah. So I read it, and I was like, Side Practice Coffee, a coffee shop that highlights people's like ability to just do whatever the fuck they want. fuck yeah, and it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of build up for me to be like, okay, I have to like, I just have to keep working on my products until I feel good about it. Until I did a pop up, and
Pop up there.
yeah,
Okay.
during October, which was Filipino American History Month.
Oh, okay.
And I reached out to him.
Oh, so wait, the most recent one wasn't your first time. You've been there before.
I've been there for a
I'm
while
sorry,
now.
I missed it. Thank you for bringing some over.
yeah.
But like it's kind of a hike for me. But like I try to, because I love their ube matcha and everything that they offer. But I sadly haven't had your pastries.
So that was October of last year, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll make like a dozen of each pastries, like the Tyrone Danish that I've been making, ube croissant, like truly Filipino inspired pastries. I was like, okay, make a dozen. I'll probably I called off work. I was like, I'll probably be here all day. And then I did it, and then it sold out in less than an hour. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I couldn't.
Were you there to sell, or you dropped it off?
I was there because
there.
I was there selling the
It was a
pastries
pop-up.
myself. There was a line. The idea of people lining up for pastries that I make was so inconceivable for me, because these were pastries that I was making at home for me, and the people that I love.
Yeah.
And the idea of strangers just willingly lining up for pastries was insane to me, and that was kind of the building block for gaining confidence in what I do. And that was a light bulb moment. And then I did another pop-up, made way more pastries, over 100 pastries, and that still sold out in less than 2 hours. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Do y'all not work or something? Y'all probably have something better to do.
So much love.
It was insane. I mean, I got home and I got a little emotional, because I was like, little baby Justin would have never thought of this, even though he was planning on doing this. I've finally gone to this point where I feel fulfilled with my work.
Yeah.
And
well, thinking back, what was the feedback when you were making it for just friends, family, and your neighbors?
it was good.
But did you feel like well, they're just my friends, family, and neighbors, so it's another thing to get it from strangers, right?
Yeah, I think it's a different way of whatchamacallit, I don't know how you say it, it's not an achievement, but it's validation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a safety net if you make it for your friends and family. But to do it through strangers
they'll support you no matter what,
that are paying for your pastries with their hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Insane to me.
Now, that being said, what do you say to someone that's like, your shit's too expensive, Justin?
Okay. I give them my recipe, and I'm like, make it yourself. No, because I think we have to. There's this new paradigm within the hospitality industry that I'm happy to see.
Yeah.
Where it's finally people, my fellow industry people, finally speaking up. Like I said earlier today,
speaking up to consumers or management.
Yeah, and even if they're not being fair.
Yeah.
It all comes down to fairness.
Yeah.
If like I said earlier, the hospitality industry is one of the industries where we allow shitty people to do shitty things just to get that tip from them. That's never been my thing. Maybe it's different. Maybe the way I see it's different because I'm back of house, but that's truly been nowadays. I'm just okay, I'm more about me now. It's time to. But then again, it's you're walking a fine line of making sure that they are satisfied, because at the end of the day, they are supporting you.
Yeah.
But at what point do you kind of draw the line where it's just okay, this isn't being fair. This isn't fair now.
Should be pretty clear when someone's just disrespecting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and oftentimes it's how you say something, right? So if you're well, here's the recipe.
Yeah.
Go try.
Yeah, try it for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if thanks for trying me out. Hopefully it works out at a different business.
Kill 'em with
just
kindness.
Not me. Yeah. And I was like, this is a really good recipe, FYI. Okay, I don't just give this out to people, so you're welcome. But yeah, I think it's different because I am from a new generation of chefs. Gen Z, as people like to call us. we're we're not afraid to speak out. We're not afraid to, and I'm sick and tired of this narrative that people from my generation are weak.
Mm.
It takes a lot of courage to be able to look at an industry that you want to be in and be like, no, I want to see changes into that before I put myself into that. Like, before I dip my waters into, like, my toes in the water for that.
And with that, it can feel like you're holding your breath because change is slow.
Yeah.
So sometimes the only option feels like going into the industry and changing it from getting so good that you get to change it from the inside.
Yeah.
Like you get so good that people will come to you to buy your goods, but then you're in a position to change the cost of things or whatever. But like
it's different when you're in a managerial position. Like I definitely have thoughts. Like I definitely had things that I was like, oh, I would never do that. I would not do this, but I couldn't say it because I wasn't in a position to do it. But I think like someone has to change the rules at some point, and that's something that I tend to do.
Yeah.
As flashy as that sounds, but someone has to do it at some point. I feel more comfortable being able to, feel like I've done something that's more friendly, like, or being more accepting of people.
Right.
In this industry, because it's a tough industry to be in.
Sure.
Both mentally and physically. And, there's certain goals that I want to achieve. I want to be able to get to a point where this industry is more friendly to people with chronic illnesses or with disabilities. How can we get more women into the kitchen? It's like certain aspects that I would want to see in the future. And I appreciate all the people that have started working on that. And just got to keep fighting. But
Yeah. Where do we end off? Oh, are you familiar with like Dan the Baker?
Yes.
I picked up from him once, but like he's gotten so good that you have to get on his texting list to get notified. Like, oh, you have 5 minutes. He's gonna go live in 5 minutes, otherwise he sells out. After popping up again and multiple times at Side Practice, is that something that you might be interested
absolutely.
in? Okay.
I think even though I was unclear of what it would be, I knew from when I was an early teenager with my delusional thoughts that I knew I wanted to open a bakery.
Yeah.
I have a black notebook that I've had since I was 14 that I carry around with me every day, everywhere. Yeah. I have it with me right now. And there's a piece of paper there from when I was in high school. Wasn't listening in algebra class because I was
daydreaming.
Yeah. And I was just like, I literally wrote down the concept of what my bakery will be like, and it's exactly where I'm working towards.
And it still stands.
Yeah. Like you'll read the page and it's like Merle Bakery. I wanted to name it after my mom, and then my mom was like, "Don't do that. It's cheesy." So I was like, "Okay, I won't." But it was truly, the same stuff that I believe in. There's the concept of it, which was like a Filipino bakery by day, dessert bar by night, which I would love to do. I have certain aspects on it that some people would consider radical, which is like a 4-day work week.
Oh yeah,
that would be fucking cool.
Oh yeah.
I mean, growing up with two sisters, having like period break will be very awesome. Like that's very like, my sisters have definitely like, they're growing up with two sisters, you just know about these things. Or growing up with women, it's been, but like having a diverse staff, having women, I feel like it's certain aspects of this industry that hasn't been prominent that I would want to see in my own bakery.
Okay.
When that time comes, we'll see. But it's like literally the pastries, they're the same pastries that that I'm making now. It's insane. But yeah, I feel like everything I've done to this point is getting me to that end goal. And I'm very fortunate to have people that support me, both like mentally and like just people that are being there for me, whether they're my best friends or people that just buy pastries at Side Practice.
Yeah. Were the majority of the people that came through at Side Practice Filipino?
It's a good mix, honestly.
Good mix. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of I think like oftentimes you'll hear a lot of Filipino chefs like talk about like, why isn't Filipino cuisine as famous as, let's say, Thai or Vietnamese? And you can look at it at different lenses. You can look at it in the sense of just Filipinos just like to cook at home. You can look at it in the sense of assimilation. Filipinos are good at assimilation. But I think the one thing that we don't talk about enough is like the divide within our community. You know, when places like Kasama open, you'll see a lot of disparaging comments by mainland Filipinos being like, they're not Filipino enough. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's this common like narrative that like, who gets to dictate how Filipino you are and like how Filipino your products are. You know, being Filipino is different for a lot of people, and I feel like it's time that we start calling out people that feel the need to be able to bring down other people's successes. Like, let's just support each other. And I've been fortunate enough to have like a very solid group of Filipino like supporters, which is exciting to me. But then again, like, I see all these comments online. It's just like, oh, they're not Filipino enough. Or it's like
The pastries.
I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired of that narrative. You know, honestly, and it's like,
Self-sabotaging, huh?
yeah.
I like from one perspective. I mentioned earlier that like it is a tight knit community, but to your point, I've heard of aunts and uncles and elders within the Filipino community that like it's like my cooking is better than the restaurant's cooking.
It's often a competition, and you know, like literally that divide is the one thing that's keeping us from going ahead.
Yeah.
And
I was fascinated earlier by like why certain cultures can charge a certain amount for their cuisine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, just fucking support each other. It's not that hard. Like, there's no need to bring other people down just because you feel like it.
Rest in peace, George's ice cream shop on Clark Street in Andersonville.
Yeah.
Is there a neighborhood that you can envision your brick and mortar
somewhere in the north side?
Yeah.
Again, I'm
like North Center. I didn't know Bowmansville was a place.
Yeah.
Thanks
North
to
Center,
Francis.
Bowenville,
Yeah.
Ravenswood.
Yeah.
Not Andersonville. I think they have enough bakeries there.
Okay.
Edgewater.
Maybe
or
even
Uptown.
Logan. Is that too saturated or?
I mean, I'm so reliant on the lake that I can't imagine like setting like, you know.
Reliant for your piece?
Yeah.
Oh.
I can see myself like working at a bakery and being like so like stressed that I just need to walk to the lake. But
Okay.
it's like my comfort spot. It reminds me of the ocean in the Philippines, which is why
Okay.
I feel confident in it. But like, you know, I envision my bakery to be a neighborhood bakery. That's
But in the
what
city.
I want. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it goes all the way up to Highland Park, you know, like all
Yeah, definitely within the city. I just want to be able to develop relationships with my own customers. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care for any accolades or any like. I just want to be able to have, you know. I mean, it's all to feel good about what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to that point, but like, there's just that one big goal of the bakery that I just need to.
So you want it
Get
to be
to.
comfy cozy? You're not trying to push people out of there?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think it's important to keep a welcoming space for anyone. And, you know, just open a bakery that also like prioritizes its employees and allows them to have growth within themselves.
Well, you dictate everything.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's flattering.
I guess being a program manager at Big Jones, have you learned about why certain businesses run the way they do because that is the cost of doing business?
I mean, I think so. I think, well, what's interesting now is you'll find a lot of restaurants are closing now because they didn't get to alter their business to the trends of COVID, like after like post-COVID dining.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean that's what it comes down to me. But yeah, I don't know.
What I'm sure you know a lot of coffee people. What other programs would you like to include in this pastry shop?
Oh,
like, would there be a beverage program?
There'd definitely be a beverage program. I want to be able to, like, I've literally, because I call myself a maniac a lot, but you know, I've thought everything through except the business aspect of it, because that's like the most daunting thing, and I'm just like, I don't want that. I don't like keep the math away from me. But no, like I've thought of it through, and it's just like I love for my employees, like I want to have like a rotating program within my employees to be like, okay, for every month, like an employee has to put up a pastry or a drink on the menu,
that they
whatever
want
they
to
want.
do. Oh.
Yeah, to allow them to grow, do R&D, because that was something I never got to do before I got this position.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of my experiences within this industry have kind of like molded the way I would want to see in a bakery. Like, and just, let them fail, let them succeed, let them take cuts of the profits of their own pastries, for God's sake. Let them compensate them for their work, for their intellectual, property.
Yeah.
But, a lot of these things, it's funny because when you listen to podcasts like this, there's a lot of like people that have gone to that point, like they finally opened their own brick and mortar.
Right.
You never hear what it's like before they open. And, like maybe some things that I've said will change, but like I don't think so, because I'm very like, you
knew from an early age.
Yeah. So like, if it hasn't changed a lot, then it probably won't. But yeah, it'll.
Is there a timeline for this?
I mean, not really. I've just been telling myself like, work at your own pace.
Which is true. Yeah.
But like literally like tomorrow I'm touring a kitchen. So like, so I'm just like, okay, am I like
when shit happens, it happens fast?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd like to start slow. I'd like to start selling at farmers markets first and do wholesale and just let my business grow organically.
Have you been at farmers markets?
I want to.
You want to? Okay.
That's like I've already missed that window because we're starting to get into fall. Yeah. But it'll be good to like kind of like start.
Do you have your eye on certain neighborhoods or certain farmers markets?
Yeah, definitely. I think like a lot of people have said I'd probably do well at the Logan Square farmers market.
Yeah.
Maybe the Andersonville farmers market.
Where's that one?
That's on Catalpa.
It's by the
Jewel Osco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Evanston has a good one too.
That's so far from. I don't drive.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm a Uber princess, so it's. But part of I'm gonna have to hire a delivery driver, I guess. God. But yeah, it's. Nowadays, I've had to distinguish passion versus obsession that can become unhealthy. I think that's.
Wait, can you help distinguish the two, passion versus obsession?
I think it's different when you're passionate about something. You can keep working on it. That can become an obsession that's unhealthy. I refer to my time from when I started working at Big Jones, when I was in the kitchen nonstop. Like I'd be in the kitchen at the restaurant, I'd be in the kitchen at home, just cooking and baking all the time. And it wasn't until this year that I got so burnt out, and I broke down crying in the kitchen. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And now like this summer I've been able to like sit down at Big Jones, be like, hey, I might have to do part-time at Big Jones so I can do my micro bakery. I can do my prep list for I only work 3 days at Big Jones now. They've been so understanding with that, and they were like, yeah, we trust you. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's been good to like finally have a strict like, when I'm working, when I'm not, absolutely not. And I feel so lucky that I get to do that,
right?
Because not a lot of people do.
Absolutely.
And I recognize that. But
absolutely,
you just have to find a way to work.
I think
make it work for yourself.
I think the path to mastery is all about iterations, and it can feel like you're doing multiple sprints of iterations rather than one long marathon.
Yeah.
You kind of take it as a wave. Like you have this feeling of like you just got home, you're exhausted, but I still want to practice. Like, I don't think there was any other way, dude. Like,
it was definitely like, I mean, it's been waves, but like this year has been a fucking tsunami.
And I'm glad you let yourself cry and let it out. Like when it all comes crumbling down.
It was because honestly, I was so like, I mean, I didn't even know what I was feeling, and then the like chef at Big Jones was like, "You're burnt out, man. Like you're doing your thing outside practice, and then you're doing this full time. Like." No shit, you're burnt out. And I was like, okay. And then like, he gave me the day off, and I was like, and I've been able to finally get some rest that I needed. And it's clear to me that I don't want to be the best. I'm not trying to be the best. I just want to get to a point where I'm happy with my own work. I was able to say that for the very first time recently. I've never been able to look at myself and be like, I'm proud of you.
Really?
Because it's hard when you suffer from imposter syndrome.
Sure.
But also like I just
good enough to give to your friends, family, and neighbors.
Yeah.
right?
But I think now that I finally have healthy boundaries, now I can like look back and be like, actually, I'm proud of like the work that I've done, and you know, I still have a lot
I
to
think
do. But
Funeral Potatoes, even Alexis said, you know, you want to get to a point where you wouldn't mind spending the money on your own food.
yeah, for the very first time, like I make like this ube oatmeal cream pie.
Ooh.
I
Oh,
tried
wow.
that for the very first time the other day.
Oh,
I had
wow.
been making them for months, and I've never even tried it. Like I just tried the individual components. And I was like, that's good enough. But like, you know, I'm starting to feel more comfortable like with like, yeah,
Being proud of your own work.
I'm gonna save this pastry for myself today. That's my little reward, and that's something I've never even done before. You know.
That's amazing. Because have you ever gotten the feeling of just being sick of your own work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And that's not really impossible. It's just being exposed to the same thing over and over
it's
again.
sick. Like I've gotten sick of my work at Big Jones.
Okay.
I get bored so easily, but I'm lucky enough to be at Big Jones that highlights seasonality, and I get to change the dessert menu a lot. But the pastries that I do at side practice, the pastries that I've always wanted to do, I haven't gone sick and tired of that. I've been making them
Okay.
for, like, I mean, for myself, I was making it for like a year, and then 2 years, and I've been making it for a couple of years now, and I've never gone sick and tired of it because these
Okay.
are pastries that I feel comfortable in, that I feel like define who I am, and you know, when you have like total control on something, you know, I mean, I
Yeah.
like it a lot. I like my pastries a lot.
For sure.
And it's been, you know, I find myself reflecting a lot on just the ability to finally be happy with my own work, and
Yeah.
that's such a rare thing for me. Even with my own pottery, like I just can't get to a point of being able to say that up until this year.
So tell me more about incorporating your pottery with your desserts. Would that happen at side practice or somewhere else, or these dinner parties? Like where?
Yeah,
does this
so I was in the
happen?
middle of art school, and I was taking this like mold making class, and I was it was one of those very like niche art school like projects, where I was like, the idea of a basic white porcelain plate for me was just like, how do we like change that, you know?
Okay.
So I basically made molds of a basic white porcelain plate, and I would cut it into different shapes, and like, and be able to make a full-on tasting menu with food that I make, and not just pastries. And
Yeah.
I, you know, like I call it pretentious dinner because it's so pretentious, and it kind of pokes fun of fine dining. Like
Okay.
I'm obsessed with fine dining, but I don't like the idea that it seems to exclude a lot of people who
Yeah.
can't afford to do fine dining. But then again, I just, you know, it's a total 180 like, or 360 moment for me
Yeah.
to be able to make like a full-on meal with my own pastries, and I plan on doing it again, maybe at side practice.
Okay.
If Francis allowed me to take over his.
He'll let you do anything.
Yeah, he's the best. But yeah, I just want to get to a point where I can combine those things that I love, but then I have to tread carefully to a point where I don't feel like pottery is my job. You know, I want to keep it as
Yeah.
my hobby, and just that.
I guess what has so you, speaking of fine dining, what have your experiences with fine dining told you about a luxury brand and how to cultivate some of those aspects, if you're interested, into your own work?
I think, I mean, it's important to be able to just. Oh wait, hold on.
Like, how do we take the good aspects of fine dining and incorporate it? Because I think, like you said earlier, I agree. It's not accessible to everyone.
I mean, that's something that I'm trying to explore that I haven't even gotten to yet.
Yeah.
Because it's this system that's specifically made for an elite group
Yeah.
that's never been for like working class people, nor it's people that like people that work in fine dining. A lot of them barely can even like afford what they do. That's something that no one's like worked on, or at least I haven't heard of anyone trying to work on that. And that's something that I'm trying to.
Explore.
Yeah, because maybe it's just me coming from a third world country, but like there's something about food that should never be like exclusive. you know, so
I guess to them it's more of an experience too.
yeah, and you know, they're
Which is cool. I mean, I'm sure you can
great for them.
cultivate some part of those aspects into wherever you go.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be at that price point.
I don't have to. I mean, I don't have to buy expensive ingredients. You know, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I want to work on, but that's not my priority.
Yeah.
My priority is my bakery. So
Did you ever think about working in like a fine dining spot?
I have.
Yeah.
I can't really. It wasn't a good like, you know. It was a short like.
So you have.
Yeah, I have.
Oh.
I just. There was one time I staged at this like really fine dining place. Staging is like the ability to just spend a day free labor at a kitchen, FYI. But I spent a night here at this restaurant and I cried.
After shift or
Yeah,
during shift?
I cried because I felt like there was so much pressure, unnecessary pressure. I hate it when people are like stress is inevitable in a kitchen. Well, yeah, it is, but also you have to keep in mind a lot of that stress is unnecessary stress. A lot of shitty people just feeling like they have to be an asshole to you.
Wow.
And you know, I'm not afraid to call someone out when they're doing that, but I think it works out for some people. Fine dining is just not for me.
Do you feel like there are some fine dining establishments that have a different culture then? That might not be as cutthroat?
Not that I know of, but like I've heard pretty decent things about Kasama.
Okay.
So that's good, and I love what they're doing there. You know, it's amazing what they're doing. Again, it's one of those places that people like mainland Filipinos are like, that's not Filipino enough, you know? And it's like, honestly, they're Filipino American. This is how they define what being Filipino is. Let them be.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think it's been fine dining is just a whole other world than like something that I thought I was interested in until I was in it, and I was like, actually, that's not for me.
Interesting.
You know?
Did you like any part of it at all?
I mean, I like the precision of it.
That's a good word, yeah.
But then it's easy to become so obsessive when you're in a fine dining establishment. Okay. It's easy to become. It can become an obsession that won't leave you. You know, and can take over your life. And I personally have OCD.
Yeah.
So I know that will not work out for me because that will just lead to unhealthy habits for me. So, you know, it's a personal thing. For me, it's not, but kudos to the people that do it, you know.
Have you felt from the people that you staged with a sense of why they do it? Is it maybe to be a part of something bigger than themselves?
Well, it can be different for people. A lot of people, it's like, oh, this is my identity. This is just what I want to put out there. Yeah. For a lot of people, it's a full-on experience that they want people to feel. It's this idea that they can fully control, like, an environment, or they want to create, like, a space that's totally insane, or it's theatrics, you know, for a lot of people. So that's what I've come off. But, like, I've also come off with a lot of people that are also just snobbish, that have just, like, you know, it's clear that they want to cater to a certain like demographic of people that I don't agree with, but yeah. Oh well.
Nice. So in addition to touring kitchens and whatnot, like what are some of the hurdles that you're currently facing, or is it mainly just time management?
Just being able to rest. I mean, I get so uncomfortable like just sitting down. Yeah, like years ago, like when places were opening back up during COVID, like I went on vacation to New York, and I ended up staging at a kitchen.
What?
Yeah, because
that wasn't the plan.
No, because the idea of the idea of being in a hotel room laying down was so like inconceivable for me.
You needed to do something.
I was like, I need to be doing something. I was like, okay, well, I can't work out because I don't have my running clothes, but like I need to be somewhere. I need to be like, so I like set up a stage at a restaurant in New York, and then coming out of it barely remembering anything because I was just out of it.
Wow.
And you know, I was like, wow, like, and so I'm getting better at it.
Okay.
But yeah, I need to be better at being able to rest.
Is there anything that helps you feel at peace? It doesn't have to be laying still. Maybe running.
Yeah, I do a lot of running. That's the only workout that I do. I mean, I live right by the lake, so it's
Okay.
easy for me to just run. But journaling has been really helpful for
Yeah.
me, or just talking to friends. Like I said, like I have my family that I like gonna start finally having those like intimate conversations with, but I also have my chosen family, my best friends that I am so like open with, and they know everything. They know more about me than my own family because
Yeah.
I open up to them a lot. So being able to talk to them really helps a lot.
First of all, how fortunate are we to find anyone that are willing to hear us at that intimate level?
It's insane. Like I said, like quality over quantity. Like I have like 5 friends that listen to me whatever they want, and I can't tell them how thankful I am for
Yeah.
them. I with the students that come to me for assistance, I tell them have a core group that will
Yeah.
support you. Surround yourself with people that will support your decisions no matter
Okay.
what, but also not give off toxic positivity that will actually tell you like what the reality is because they just know who you are and what your tendencies are. Like my best friends, when I was like, I think I want to be an art teacher, like, no, you're not. You're not gonna be an art teacher. Let's be honest. You're terrible with kids. You hate kids. Like,
So
you're not,
being straight up.
yeah, and I think it's important to be able to, have that balance of support, but also
Encouragement.
friends that will give you a fucking reality check.
That too.
Yeah, but I love them so much. But yeah.
Do you have any questions for me or for the podcast or anything else that you're curious about these days?
Not necessarily. Like I said, like I just want to get to a point where I can rest and,
Yeah.
you know,
It won't be in vain, right? All the work that you put in, it's like we can't live with regrets. It all happens for a reason, and I know at times, and you can probably say no to more things now at this point in your career, but that feeling of like there's an opportunity, and if you don't take it, you're gonna miss out,
yeah.
right? But at this point, you have success to the level of like, well, I can actually say no to other things, like other opportunities.
Yeah, I'm terrible at saying no.
Yeah.
I hate making cakes, but when someone's like, "Can you make
I saw
me a
that last cake.
Yeah, and I was like, "Fine, yeah, I'll make a cake." Even though I fucking hate it. I like
And you're not shy about it either.
No, normalize pastry chefs not liking to make cakes. Like, like we don't have to make cakes all the time. Let me make you a Danish. But no, it's yeah, I think I mean, I have so many events lined up like this year because of me being like, oh, I can't miss that opportunity.
Sure.
It's like this idea of opportunity is like a shining bright.
Yeah,
light to me.
and like you said, you can't get rest. But like, at what point is being spread thin going to manifest in a breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely started like just resting a lot and I've started saying no.
Yeah.
Like people that DM me and like, can I do a pre-order for pastries? I'm like, no, sorry.
Like to pick up from your home?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm just like, sorry. I mean, I have an my
obligation
pastries.
to.
Yeah, I mean, I have pastries at side practice. You can buy it there. Other than that, I don't have the ability to do pre-orders right now, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Because again, like I need to listen to my body more, which I've never done in my life.
Yeah.
Up until this point. So it's a lot of doctor's appointments because I've missed a lot of them. Because I was like,
Bro,
I'm working.
I'm running on no insurance at the moment. So
Yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, I've just relied on my 2 sisters that are in med school. That are
Yeah.
like,
Tell me
hey, what's
with
wrong
me?"
with me? But yeah, I want to be able to spend more time with family, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's something I haven't prioritized a lot.
Where's your mom again? Is she in?
She's in Chicago.
Okay. So would you do like? I know you FaceTime often, but is it like a weekly in-person thing or
Yeah,
more
sometimes
than once a week?
like
Okay.
I mean, definitely every week, if not like every other day. They FaceTime a lot with my sisters. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't bother calling me because they're like, he's at work. He's not gonna. But then I've been telling them like, just keep me on the phone. That's fine.
And acknowledging they're probably just as busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm not. I mean, I've only started this like mindset of like, you're just fucking making pastries.
Oh.
You're not saving lives. You're not a doctor. It's just pastries. It's okay if you don't do something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I constantly have to remind myself
And
that.
on the flip side, it's like you can, like, when people take the CMT class, they're like, I want to help people, but like there are other industries where you can help people.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side of the healthcare, you can't save everybody. You got to take care of yourself first in order to help other people.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
So Justin, I think people should know, but where can people find you, in person and online?
So you can follow me on Instagram. I don't know. Should I just say my?
Yeah, you can, but I'll link it below.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can follow me. Well, you can follow my micro bakery, Instagram.
Yeah.
Delsword.bakery.
Okay.
You know, that's where I post every day what the menu side practices, because I do a lot of like, I try different things inside practice a lot, so
Yeah.
the menu changes a lot.
Okay.
But I do my pastries there from Wednesday through Saturday.
Okay.
We might do more in the future. We'll see. And then you can also follow my work at Big Jones.
Nice.
I changed the dessert menu like too many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can follow my pastry journey.
Yeah, it's quite the journey, and it unfortunately took me till probably like my late 20s, early 30s to realize like your job does not define who you are.
Yeah.
So, but even if you knew what you wanted to do at such an early age, it's beautiful to see you become a whole individual outside of just what you do for work.
Yeah, I think I've definitely tried to shift away from that idea of like, I am my work, honestly. Like, I mean,
which doesn't mean you don't want to do great work.
No, that just means I just want to get to a point where I'm happy, and I'm
Yeah.
getting there, and that's good.
Yeah. I think I and a lot of people probably think of Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, the Last Dance documentary, and how much, or Tiger Woods, like all these people, they have to give up so many things in order to be at that level.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not want to do that, but still want to do great things.
Yeah. I have a lot of like family hangouts I have to do though, because I have to. The amount of times I'd be like, I can't have dinner with you.
You got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, because my sisters and my mom, like, they do a lot of like road trips, and I'm like, I
Oh.
can't. I have work.
Yeah.
Sorry. But now, like, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'll call off work just for you guys. That's something I'm trying to work on.
The greatest equalizer is death.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, as morbid as it is, like envisioning when one of your loved ones is on their deathbed and like what you wish you would have done
Yeah.
if they weren't on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Sorry to leave you guys on such a sad note.
Yeah, that tends to be like that tends to be what I do anyway, so it's fine.
But Justin, it was truly a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean,
I feel like we're kindred spirits. We're lifelong fans and friends now, and I will stop by. Thanks for bringing the pastries, but we'll definitely make a stop by side practice and try more of them. I know Justine will be a fan of everything you brought. But that's it.
Thanks for giving me the space to talk. I mean, I never talk about myself like that at all. So,
well,
yeah.
you'll have to let me know what your sisters think, and your mom if she listens.
I'm gonna get a lot of text messages, be like, "We love you too, Justin. You're welcome." So that'll be like, okay, I don't have to have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
Probably just listen to the podcast.
I hope it opens the can of worms.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you in. Oh, if you like the new studio setup, let me know that too. But other than that, stay curious.
Thank you.